Alright, so this will be a sort of feedback slash critique for Ghost. I initially wasn't going to analyze any videos because I just don't really have the time that I want to dedicate to it for due to work. Weekends are usually better for me. But I got off work early, was running some errands, blah blah blah. I had some time. That's the TLDR. And I wanted to answer some questions that you were posing in the Fahk Discord because it is the audio whatever. If there's game audio and you hear it, it might be. Hopefully my voice is louder, but you seem to be a bit lost, and you seem to be in kind of just like in a vortex of just trying to figure stuff out, right? So I wanted to answer some stuff, hopefully give some insight, and maybe give you some stuff to think about. I don't think I'll cover any actual matches today. I saw your link to the Twitch. I'll check out the VOD when I can, and I'll respond to it. So let's just go down the list of answering the questions that you had first, right? When someone is constantly jabbing me, am I supposed to try and step with Fahk? To try to step with Fahk? Or is that what the down 3+4 Sabaki is for? And the answer to that question or questions is yes. Yes. The answer to both is yes. However, obviously, let's take a look at that. And it will be about layers, right? So the first layer, right? If someone is just jabbing you in your face, right? The first thing you have to understand is that this is a high, right? Obviously, I'm not gonna make the same mistake of like assuming that you're a beginner, right? But I'm going to still. It might sound like it. I'm not trying to be condescending towards you, right? I'm just trying to explain it as clear and concisely as possible to avoid any misunderstandings, right? So if it sounds like I'm trying to be condescending, apologies in advance. That is not my intention, right? I'm just trying to break it down as simple as possible to try and be as clearly communicating as possible. You have multiple options, right? When the opponent's just jabbing in your face, you can always backdash, you can duck. Backdashing when you're -8, so Fahk is -8 right now, can be kind of risky, right? Obviously, people usually say, oh, you can like backdash or sidestep in -4, but really, like a lot of the ranges here, right, especially with the pushback on hit, and you're holding back, right? When you block something or get hit by something, holding back naturally pushes you a little bit back, right? An example of this is when people block Heihachi forward 2. Neutral blocking has little pushback, right? So they can actually punish it with options that they would not be able to when they hold back to block. So over here, like you're holding back as the opponent is jabbing you, right? And then you backdash, right? You would have to experiment with it. Some characters' jab ranges are better than others, right? So experiment with it. So that's one of your options. Another option is just the hard call out, right? You think the opponent's just gonna keep jabbing and whatnot, right? You duck. You just straight up have to duck in their face, right? Because you duck and then aim for a whiff punish, right? Sometimes these characters will have, jab strings, right? And this is, you have to practice, right? You have to practice ducking, visually confirming the whiff, right? And then immediately doing a wall standing move, right? Some characters will, instead of just doing jabs, right, they'll do 1-2, right? So the interesting thing about this is that if they do jab 1-2, right, and you would think, oh well, if I duck this and they have like a mid follow up at some point, right, like Paul has 1-2-3. The thing about that is that the how do I say this jails, right? So if you're holding down, you won't automatically duck, right? So let's put Fahk in an example. Let's do record. So I'm going to have Fahk do a lot of this, and then do this, right? He has He has jabs, he has the singular jab, he has jab strings, right? And he has 1 2 1 2 1, right? So let's play it. I'm doing a bad example of showing this, right? But if he jabs and I hold back and I duck, right? I'm unable to duck. So right there I was trying to duck the 1 2, right? But I'm unable to because it jails. So there's a thing you can do, right? So let's see. It's what's called fuzzying. I'd recommend practicing this. This gets kind of a little bit advanced because it has execution to it, right? But you know, fuzzying Fahk, right? So let's say I have him do recording 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 1 2 1 2 1, right? And just have him play that back. So anytime I try to actually duck, right, when he starts doing 1 2, I'm unable to until the string ends. But if you notice, there's a gap, right? So I block this, duck the last few, and then before, oh, let me turn off counter hit. So they're just doing jabs, duck, and then, whoop. Oh god. This is the YouTube thing of like, oh, I'm trying to show an example, and then I just fuck it up in training. Ah. Oh, whoops. Why does it say counter hit? Oh, it's probably because I'm mistiming. So basically, without me doing a horrible showing of it, right? What I'm trying to show and is like, okay, if I hold back and try to actually duck, right? And try to, like, once I start blocking the first jab, I am unable to duck the second jab because the string jails, right? So if I see that I'm still blocking, right, I can stay stand blocking, right? And then when he does the mid, I can just punish. You have to be very quick about it. Unfortunately, reactions are a thing, and my reactions are ass, right? But once you're, you know, heightened in an actual game sense, and you're able to like be in the zone, right? So you just hold back, and there's your punish, right? Or let's say he just starts doing a bunch of strings, and I'm confirming that he's whiffing here, right? And then going for the punish where I get a counter hit, and this will give me some breathing room. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know I did that. So another thing is just, you know, doing a high crush move, right? For Fahk, it's going to be a bit more difficult because he doesn't have actually, I should be showing Fahk options here. So for Fahk, it's going to be a little bit difficult because he doesn't have a generic down back 4 like Paul does, right? Instead, what Fahk has is down 2. However, down 2 is still just as useful, right? Down 2 is basically as close as Fahk is going to get to a dick jab, but oh. 2 1 2 1 1 1 2 1 2 1. Sure, whatever. Okay. So I'm facing a lot of pressure. All of a sudden, I don't know what to do. Look how I'm still in the middle of all these highs, right? Before he's able to do anything, he can't hit me out of it. The mid jail, so I don't have to worry about ducking into the mid, right? I'm still in block stun. When he does the jab. So he did the jab where he was +1, right? So when he does the jab and he's +1, his jab becomes 9 frames, but it didn't matter because this move high crushes, right? And I'm able to punish and disrupt him, leaving myself at +2, which isn't a lot, like it's not a crazy amount, but the idea is I'm able to disrupt their pressure, right? Make them second guess what they're gonna do. And if I hold down and leave Fahk in full crouch, right, all of a sudden I can do hell sweep, I can do a generic down back 4, right? I can do a mid, I can do this mid, I can do this mid, right? So that's another option, right? Instead of just backdashing. Actually, let me see if the backdashing thing works before I just talk shit. Right, so this is because I noticed that you had really strong movement, right? So look at, I'm gonna be real with you. I do not have strong movement. Lazy, don't want to learn KBD yet. I'll work on it, but different story for a different day. But look at what you would, I think you would be able to do this, right? Look at the pressure that he's doing, right? And you try to backdash, and you have some space before, you know, the actual jabs come out. Backdash, combine it with this. So he's jabbing you, backdash, punish, or if you backdash, let's say I block the first one, right? Backdash. Oh, if I was fast enough, I would be able to do something, right? Backdash, duck if they go for the second one. So I'm doing a poor job of showing it, but you see what I'm trying to get at, right? So the immediate backdash, and you know that he's going to do something else. You can duck and do a hard call out with wall standing 3, right? Or do wall standing 4, or do down 2, or do hell sweep, because this also still high crushes, right? Look at how when Fahk does hell sweep, let me just do, when he does full crouch down forward 3, right? Notice how from the start of the animation all the way to the end, he is crouching. If you look at the status on training mode. Crouch status, tech crouch, whatever it's called, it is high crush, right? Meaning, doesn't matter what high the opponent chooses to do, right? All the way from the startup of my move to basically to when the move will just hit my opponent, their hitbox literally does not exist. When you look at stuff that's described as a high crush versus something that evades, right? That Blasted Salami has a video and he talks about it. High crush straight up deletes the hitbox, evasion does not. Evasion means you're avoiding the hitbox, but high crush means it literally does not exist, right? That's why it's so important to have that crouching status. So at any point, right, let's try it out here, right? Backdash, counter hit, get the hell sweep. He's doing the barrage, right? And I'm never hit by it compared to like when I was trying to backdash with my poor backdash, right? That was a punish, right? At any point. So look at what your high crush options are. He goes for it. I just immediately down 2, right? Just completely crushes it. Oh, man. So look at all your options. You have a lot of options when the opponent is just, you know, jabbing you like they are. And let's talk about down 3+4. Why is this so risky, right? Because on block it's launch punishable, right? So, and it's a high, right? So if they duck, if they block it, you're getting launched. Now, obviously the trade-off is that you are what's the word? You are launching them on a successful sabaki, right? But let's take a look at that, right? So let's do another recording. Does it actually disrupt in between? So notice how the gap in between the timing of his strings prevented me from actually like punishing it or launching him, right? So it's really hard to just immediately no, right? It's really like there I got the successful launch, which is cool, but it's really hard to immediately launch on this, right? And if the opponent blocks it or for whatever reason just ducks it, you're getting launched. So yes, the Sabaki is there. That's what it's for when you're getting pressured, but you have a good sense of your opponent's timing, and you get a huge reward, right? Like, yes, you are getting launched yourself, but if this successfully absorbs it, how much damage is it, actually? Oh. Oh my god, my timing is awful. Oh, it's still 15 damage on the Sabaki parry. But still, it's 15 damage is pretty solid, right? Pretty good amount of damage for a combo starter. Anyway, so you have all your options, right? You can backdash, right? You can high crush with a high crush move. You can down 2 or dig jab or down back 4 if you were playing other characters. You can hell sweep. You can do the Sabaki parry, right? And you can also, I'm pretty sure you can sidestep. Yeah, so, I mean, this is Fahk doing it, but his jab is actually pretty good, right? Because he's so tall, it's got a lot of range to it. And look at how far he look at how far he advances, right? Oh my god, look at this range, right? I'm at like range 2 and I just do 1-2 and I'm already in my opponent's face. Let me see if I can sidestep. Oh, okay. So that's the thing you have to be careful for, right? So notice that the 1-2, 1-2 hit me, but if I just wait for it, 1-2, 1-2, 1, right? Immediate sidestep. It wasn't a punish, but 1-2, 1-2, punish. 1-2, 1-2, punish, right? Because sidestep 4, easy mode launcher. Doing sidestep down 4, 2-3 is also fine. So you have to be careful, right? You have to have a really good understanding of what your opponent is trying to do and how they choose to do their timing, right? Oh, sorry. The timing is awful. You want to have a good understanding of what your opponent is trying to do. You want to have a good understanding of their timing. But if you do, right, you can maximize your reward, right? So all of these options carry their own varying degrees of risk versus reward. If I backdash but my timing is off, right, I will get punished for it, but I can potentially have a good reward of whiff punishing, right? If I choose to instead go for the safe move of a high crush, the risk is a lot less, right? I'm high crushing, deleting their hitbox, but the reward is obviously a lot simpler. But if I try to go for a riskier play like the Sabaki, I'll get a launch, right? Or if I go for the sidestep, I can get a better launch. You kind of have to commit to it. Notice how even though I thought I hit it pretty well, the punish didn't show up on the screen, right? So there's a bit of time commitment to it. So if they were to block, right, if they were to just jab and then block, they would block your sidestep 3 and then all of a sudden you're getting a punish. So all of these options really depend, right? And then on top of that, it also really depends on, were you hit or not? When I was watching your earlier videos, you were getting hit a lot and trying to challenge it here, right? The problem is that getting hit here drastically changes what your options are going to do, right? So let's try record. So right here, I can still step the jab, right? Well, let me see. Let me try and not make it so spaced out. Oh, fucking neutral guard. So I was able to step, but then it was hard to whiff punish. Right, so notice I got counter hit there, right, because I tried to do a sidestep 4 for the whiff punish. But when you sidestep and press a button, you're extending your hurt box. So he was able to counter hit me with the jab, where normally in other situations, like let's try blocking into it, right? Oh, whoops. So that was a bit easier, right? There's a lot of inconsistencies that you have to take into account for. You can't account for them all, but you just kind of, you try to make the most educated. A lot of Tekken is kind of weighing all your options and making the most educated guess you can, right? Some players have different play styles. You just weigh all your options and make a decision based on that. Some players favor a very high risk, high reward playstyle. Some players favor a just zero risk, medium reward, or low to me, even low reward, but they'll always consistently get that option, right? The consistency is king. I try to favor and try to play towards the consistency route, but I noticed that I remember you saying you had a more wild play style, right? And yeah, that's really going to be up to you. Just figure out your options, figure out what you can do, and then play accordingly, right? You want to make sure you have these practice. Obviously, you see my movements very shaky, right? I use a lot more moves and stuff like that. And the options I'm showing here are just the bare minimum. Like, they're the very limit, right? So there's a lot you can do. What else can you do? You know, backdash, down forward. This is pretty fast, right? So let's say the opponent's just jabbing, right? They see them advancing. Oh. But you see what I'm talking about, right? Like, you see them advancing. You can press this. That was a punish, right? And then even though this is -5, the hit makes them second guess it because they're eating a lot of damage, right? The range you're looking at. Or if you time it properly, you get the counter hit, right? So there's so many options available to you, and you kind of just weigh which ones you want. And I'll talk about, I know you were saying it feels like you were overwhelmed, so I'll talk about that later. But for now, I'm just showing you, like, hey, you have a lot of options, and you really just kind of gotta figure it out, right? Experiment with what works and what doesn't. Some options will work on block. Some options will work better on hit, right? Etc., etc., etc. There is no best option, right? Because even though there are safer options, there are less risky options. They obviously don't have a lot of reward to them, right? But I still think the option is powerful because once you do this, you can open up a lot of opportunities, right? You can do this, hold down, you're in full crouch, boom, hell sweep, right? You're in full crouch, but you don't do anything, right? You just do a mid, or you just crouch in their face and they're so scared you immediately sidestep into, you know, controlling with 3, stuff like that. A lot of options you can do. Oh, it was really long and rambly. I hope I covered a good amount and hopefully given you some ideas about, like, hey, here's what you can do, right? If they're constantly jabbing you, right, you can either, you know, like I said before, this is low risk, low reward, but it's very reliable, right? This is always going to high crush, always really going to beat them, and you can use the, and this is not low parryable, right? So if they see you're just doing this, they can't low parry you. They can still low crush you, right? Like, you're still gonna get hop kicked if you do this a lot, but you don't have to worry about jabs as much, and you can use this into your layer of mind games, right? For some pretty decent reward. Obviously, the down 3 blows for Sabaki is the flashiest. And Sabaki, like, it is risky, but if you think about it, like, yes, the reward isn't just a launch punish, right? The reward is making your opponent remember you have the parry, so they always have to constantly second guess their timing, right? This is like, there's layers to the reward. This is not just on a successful parry, you're just launching them to the wall and stuff, right? This is, you not only launch them, but you have that mental damage of, like, holy shit, I thought my pressure was safe or secure, but it wasn't. And making them second guess that, it can also be a very valuable tool, right? Scrolling down, what were some other questions you have? Most of the time, you're trying to backdash out of there instead of blocking, or trying to sidestep out of things on a -3, but I'm not really able to sidestep. So in this situation, I feel like what's happening is that you might be trying to jab when you get hit, and your sidestep is a bit nerfed when you're, you know, -8 when you're getting hit. It says you're trying to sidestep out of things when you're -3. Try and record those situations when they come up in matches, right? What are you pressing anything when you sidestep, right? Are you pressing standing 3? This is a very valuable tool, right? Standing 3, but anytime you press a button from sidestep, notice when I don't press a button versus when I immediately press a button, right? the sidestep is a lot shorter, and the move takes up where the distance I would have gained from the sidestep. And whenever you press a button, like I said before, your hurt box is extending. If you are still trying to just purely sidestep, like you're not even pressing a button, but you're still having issues with it, the only other thing I can really think of would be online lag really messing you up. It's very hard to execute, ideal options online, because what ends up happening is just like the very few frames of lag you needed, all of a sudden where you would have beaten your opponent, you get beat because of just a frame of lag, and your opponent's hitbox hits you when it wouldn't have done so offline. That is a really frustrating experience, and unfortunately there's not really much else to be done there besides like try and make sure that you and your friend have as good of a connection as possible. It is unfortunate. Okay, so I hope that answers some questions. Again, if you have any more questions, feel free to ask in the Discord, and I'll try and answer them when I can. And hopefully other people answer, but I'm gonna be real with you, the Discord's kind of dead. It's just how it'd be for some character Discords. It is what it is. Okay, next question. And he's doing Jaguar knees to try and hard call out the down back 4. So you notice that he just likes to stand block a lot. Okay, so like I said before, right, if he's just stand blocking a lot, do a lot of knees, do a lot of lows, do a lot of throws, maybe some back forward 4, right? A lot of that. I'm a big fan of the lows, always doing the lows, right? Easy chip damage, right? God, look at how far this goes. I'm sorry, I love Fahk. I just don't have as much time to play. Oh my god, especially at the wall. Good fucking luck, bro. Oh, I love Fahk. I just don't have as much time to play anymore, so I'm usually just playing Paul. Good times. Okay. So if he's doing a hard call out, you're already winning this interaction, right? So if the opponent is doing a hard call out because your low is in their head, all you have to do is, instead of just doing this repeatedly, just doing this, slight pause, right? Wait for him to do the thing, and then do your punish, right? For Fahk around 4, 2, 1, right? Sorry, I got lost because I know he can do 4, 4, 2, 1. I think the pushback's a little... So what are you supposed to do here? Just... I don't know. Sorry, I got distracted. So if he's doing Jaguar knees to hard call out, right? He's taking a risky option to answer you, which is what you want, right? Because Fahk has some of the best punishment in the game, right? This move is really good. This is a really good punisher. 33 damage is a lot of damage for a punisher, right? And if he's just doing the knee move, if he's doing like what is King's like up forward 4, the hop knee, if you block it, this kind of has range issues, right? But if you block the knee, 90% of the time, I'm pretty sure you're gonna reach for the punish, right? This is gonna reach, right? Or if you're really skeptical, what has more range? About the same? No, this totally has more range. Yeah, so if you're skeptical and, maybe do 1, 2 just to get like the weak punish or something, or standing 3. This is the weak punish, but hey, damage is damage, right? If you're really skeptical. But, if he's doing the knee, you just block and punish. A lot of what I'm going to say, right, is just do the right option every time. But, and again, it's like, I'm not trying to sound condescending, but like, yes, you have to think about it in, you conditioned your opponent to respond to you. You are eliciting a response from your opponent, which is what you want, right? They're just stand blocking, right? So now you're just doing down back 4. They stop just stand blocking, and now they're doing a lot of hop Jaguar knees or whatever to call out the down back 4. But it's a hard call out, right? They are taking a risk, right? And so you have to go back to the next, you have to go down a step, right? So both players are stand blocking, he's just stand blocking. You want him to stop doing that. You keep doing down back 4. He starts doing Jaguar knee. Congratulations, you have achieved your goal of he's not stand blocking anymore. He's doing stuff that you can punish. So then you have to stop your lows, right? And hope for a good timing and then get a block punish in, right? And then the cycle, we move on to the next step, right? It kind of cycles through. Your opponent stops doing the hop knee, right? Because you're just blocking and punishing because he's going, well shit. I'm getting punished here and I don't want that, right? And then he'll start stand blocking and then you can mix it up, right? Just doing this and then blocking is a mix up in and of itself. So that's really the layers of Tekken. Is your opponent is doing something, you do something in response to that to make them stop doing whatever they're doing. They stop doing whatever they're doing, they do this new thing, and then you respond to the new thing, right? That's the ebb and flow of Tekken. Sometimes you'll go on the offense, your opponent will respond accordingly. Then you go on the defense, and then your opponent will respond accordingly, right? That ebb and flow, and you just kind of have to get a good sense of, all right, I did this low, I did like 2 lows in a row. I think if I dash up in his face and I hold back, right, he'll do the knee, expecting me another low or something, right? So that's just kind of what you have to do. He's trying to jab interrupt my down forward 1 strings. Okay, so I hope that answers the low. Again, like with everything, if you have more questions, just let me know. And apparently down forward 1-2-1 is interruptible by jabs. Okay, so this... Oh, what is wrong with my stick? Oh, I'm trying... So this move, down forward 1-2-1, is... It's not... This is the difference... Okay, against jabs, right? The difference between this and this, right, is that this is just evasion, this is crushing. At any point, right, besides like the little at 1 frame of crouching I'm doing for down forward 1, right, do you see Fahk? Do you see the crouch status in the text box appear at all when Fahk does down forward 1-2-1? Right? The answer is no. Right? What's happening here is, look, I don't have the frame by frame breakdown, but if you look at Fahk when he does the dip for the 2-1, right? Look at how he ducks down a little bit. He's not crouching, but his animation, it's again 3D game, his character model with its hurt boxes are moving around jabs. However, this is evasion, right? This is not high crushing, this is not crouching where the jab will actually whiff, right? You are not guaranteed to beat an opponent's jab. Against a lot of jabs, you will beat them, right? Because then the evasion is infamous, but it's not guaranteed. You cannot rely... This is why it's important to understand the distinction between evasion and high crushing. You cannot rely on evasion. No matter how much a player might spam an evasive move, if they rely on it, they will get blown up, right? You can rely on crushing, right? Crushing will always beat highs, right? If you high crush something, you will always beat highs. It does not matter what the high is. If you low crush something, right? Like this has low crush built in. If you low crush something, you will always beat the low, provided that you are able to reach your high crush frames or low crush frames, whatever. Right? So if you'd have to test it in the lab, just have king do jabs or have your opponent do jabs and just do down forward 1-2-1. And if your opponent is consistently beating this option, then you can't rely on the evasion, right? You have to instead focus on doing down forward 1-2, right? This does not jail, so they are free to jab through it if they wish. Your opponent has no way to react if you're going to go for down forward 1-2-1 or if you go for down forward 1-2, right? They have no way of knowing. So if they're jabbing it, do this a few times, right? Do this like once or twice. If they start jabbing you, then you just do down forward 1, 2, and then boom, you get free +6, right? And from +6, you can do this, you can do this, whatever you want, right? Or you can do this. This is not guaranteed, right? Oh, sure. Let's try recording it. Oh my god, this is so tough. Oh, you know what I'll do? Okay. Play. See, like I immediately lost that, right? So against Fahk in the mirror, you can do this, and he'll just duck. That's really funny. So okay, 1. You saw the counter hit, right? Oh, whoops. Counter hit, whoops. This time. Okay, so I tried to jab down forward 1, 4. That was unsuccessful. Down forward 1, 4. Oh, whoops. Oh. Right, and I got counter hit again. So you have options to what your opponent how your opponent tries to challenge, right? So if I do down forward 1, 2, this will beat the jab, but it won't beat ducking, right? So if they commit to the duck, this option will cover both ducking and jabs if your opponent likes to challenge, but obviously stand blocking, you'll get punished, right? And then this option will help you mix up your timings and will beat the opponent ducking, but it won't beat them jabbing, at least in the king situation. It seemed to beat Fahk's jabs pretty easily, which is really stupid, but like whatever. I mean, it's Fahk. He's a dumb character. That's why he's so much fun. So those are your options, right? You again, think back to what I talked about with the down back 4. You're doing something, your opponent responds to it, you respond to their response, right? And then we just continuously evolve from there. All right, he's overly relying on king 1, 2 and those jab strings. Yeah, like there's a multitude of things you can do. A lot of 1, 2, you can sidestep duck, right? Sidestep duck. You don't want to just sidestep because 1, 2 has some pretty decent tracking, right? I'm not gonna show it. I've already been rambling for a long time. So against sidestep 1, 2, right? You want to sidestep but then duck and then confirm that like okay, they are actually, you know, committing to the 1, 2, then go for a whiff punish, right? While standing 4 is a safe bet. Hell sweep, a big call out, but sometimes safe. Like you can maybe do this as a whiff punish because again, the entire time up until the first hit, you are crouching, which matters a lot. So I'm trying to figure out how do I put pressure on him to stop and that without relying on the sabaki. So I feel like I covered a lot of the options already. Excuse me. So I feel like I covered a lot of the options already. Hopefully this gives you some ideas to try out and figure out. Alright. I don't know if it's my lack of familiarity with the style of Tekken, player stubbornness, or web. It's a bit frustrating. It's a combination of a lot of things. You're an aggressive player, but you're also unfamiliar with the style. And then it's not just about like, okay, let's talk about punishes for a little bit, right? Punishes are very, very, very specific, right? There's layers to it. Some things are very kind of like, okay, I have a punish, right? But executing, punishing can be as simple as you just block the thing and then do your punish, right? But it's not, right? Simply doing a punish doesn't exactly guarantee that like I'll do all this. You'll just practice the punish a little bit in training mode and then immediately go into a match and successfully do it, right? There's layers to it. The first thing is knowledge, right? The first thing is understanding what your punishers are and understanding what exactly is punishable, right? Once you know what your punisher is, once you know what is punishable, you then have to practice that punish, right? 15 minutes a day, an hour a day, whatever, right? You have to actually practice it. And then once you practice it, you have to actually apply it in a real match, right? So that you build up that muscle memory and experience. Because punishing something in training mode, right, no matter how easy or whatever it might be, is obviously very different than actually punishing it in a real match, right? Very different worlds. So, dealing with your opponent's offense, the same principles apply here, right? Your lack of familiarity is also just kind of like the lack of actually practice and applying this, because like all the options I talked about before, high crushing, hell sweep, backdash, sidestep, right? There's all these options, and you need to, you want to have consistent practice with all of them. So in a heat of the moment, you can make a snap decision based on your experience, and your muscle memory will take care of the rest. That is kind of like where Tekken's at, where you practice an option so much, and then players aren't like when I punish something, right? When I block something with Paul and I punish with back 1-2 or whatever, or if I'm playing with Fahk and I see a whiff and then I immediately do back 1, right? I'm not winning, or I'm not thinking about my punish. It's all muscle memory, right? So I'm just dashing back and forth. I see a whiff, my instinct takes over because I practiced with punishing with this so much that I can just whiff punish, right? Or with Paul, whatever the character is. So I'll talk about weighing all your options later, but that's again, so that's the layers to it, right? Knowing what to do, practicing what to do, and then executing it in a real match, right? So it's a combination of a lot of things. I don't think it's an indictment of your skill or anything. It's just practice. That's how it is for a lot of players, right? Yeah, there's the mid. God, what a fucked up character. Okay. So he's just really abusing jabs with King, so I don't know what to do in this situation other than Sabaki to get him to stop and let me get some offense going. Gave you some options. I think, actually, let's talk about this right now. So you mentioned, like, how you feel kind of overwhelmed. You feel like you're not sure where to, like, really start, and there's not really an easy answer to that. Maybe other players will have a better answer than I do, than what I can offer right now. But really, a lot of it is just make a decision, right? I'm not saying you need to do every single option. Like, I'm not saying you need to be able to backdash and sidestep and immediate high crush, right? I'm not saying you have to do all of these options perfectly. I'm laying out some options for you, right? And this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? I'm just laying out some options for you and trying to give you some ideas here. And based on what you see presented, or based even on what you practice in the lab in training mode, you make a decision from there, right? You make a decision by, okay, I actually like this option a lot. It's not a lot of reward, but I can consistently beat these jabs, and from here I can apply my own offense with hell sweep, with mids, with movement into sidestep, right? Or I can just get up and then backdash, right? Every option offers its own pros and cons. My recommendation is just keep it. Always remember the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid, right? I'm laying out all these options for you just to, hey, be aware of what's going on here. But in your case, what I would recommend is picking an option that you find appealing and you find easy to execute, and just focusing on using that to the best of your ability, right? My recommendation would just be something as simple as down 2. Very, very hard to fuck up. You can't get low parried. In order to answer this move, he has to take a risk, right? He has to expect he's going to do a call out. You're going to do this, and he'll do a call out with, like, jab into hop kick or something, right? So once you get him to doing that, he's no longer just doing jab into jab into jab into jab, right? He's doing jab into hop kick, and you might get hop kick the first time or what, but you just, you're making him second guess his offense and forcing him to change his game plan as a result, right? So then when he does jab into hop kick, you just block it and then you punish, right? So that ebb and flow, like I've talked about earlier. All right, so try it. So good. Keep it simple. Just focus on one option that you really like and honing that option, practicing it, putting it into practice in real matches, and then just getting used to it so that it becomes second nature or just muscle memory to you. All right, now he switched to Xiao Yu. How much of the Xiao Yu pressure is fake versus real? It really depends on what he's doing as Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu, I don't know enough to really do a full video on, and a lot of it is really just going to be hit the lab, see what your options are, see what you can do, and practice, right? There's just going to be those characters in Tekken that are lab characters that are, you have to put in the hours to iron out the gimmicks, have the matchup experience, to understand how to mitigate the character, right? Like, there are reasons why Xiao Yu is not considered a very strong character at the higher levels of Tekken, right? But obviously, there's a bit of a gap going from where you are to there. And I'm not saying the pressure that you're feeling, the frustration you're feeling is fake or anything, right? Obviously, Xiao Yu's really fucking annoying, right? But there's a lot of things you can do to mitigate what's going on and mitigate some of the stuff that she's throwing at you, right? So gotta first figure that out. Okay, how much of the Xiao Yu pressure is fake versus real? That you just try to find someone. I'll talk about your friend switching characters a lot and why that's frustrating to me, but we'll get to that later. Let's see if you have any other questions. That's whatever. There you go. Okay. He plays King for a while, then switches to Xiao Yu. That's unfortunate. Sorry for posting. Oh, don't ever be sorry about posting anything in the Discord. That's what the Discord is there for, right? We are there to try and help you, right? There's obviously stuff that's kind of like, hey, this is a basic question, just figure it out and do the work on your own or something. But there's also a lot of, like, people have questions and they're just looking for help, they're looking for answers. Just shoot your shot, right? In the Discord, ask your questions, figure out what you need, do whatever you need to get to figure it out. But, responses might vary, right? Like, I happen to have some free time at work, which is why I was responding earlier. And I had left work early because I was running errands, but I had some free time and I wanted to do this. So I'm just giving you the heads up. Sometimes my response time, sometimes it's instant, and then sometimes it's like a month later. Full disclosure, right? I'm not trying to, like, keep a long con going here, right? I'm just trying to be as real as possible. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Just understand that, like, you're not always guaranteed an answer, right? But the worst thing people can do is, like, maybe ignore the message. And that can be frustrating in and of itself, but it's more important that, you ask the question, hopefully get a response. If you don't, it's unfortunate, but then you just move on. Maybe try asking somewhere else or something. But you should not be afraid to ask questions. Just do what you can to be polite. Don't be rude. That's all we ask, right? Don't be stupid. Be civil. Ask your questions. We'll answer them when we can. Life goes on. I think I should chunk things down into smaller pieces to focus on a lot more. Absolutely. I'm a big fan of goal setting, right? I am by no means a Tekken professional, right? However, I like to think that I can play the game at an intermediate level, right? I'm not going to take any tournaments, but I'm not going to feel like I'm lost, right? But a lot of that was me just kind of sitting down, focusing on one thing at a time, right? No, go to simple select. Paul! Like, me feeling confident with Paul isn't just me, I didn't, like, wake up one day and suddenly I'm, like, doing crazy stuff with Paul, right? It was a lot of practice. It was a lot of getting my ass beat, because that's how you learn, right? You get your ass beat and then you go, wow, that fucking sucked. I never want to do that again, right? I never want to deal with that. So then you put in the little practice to just figure out what's going on here, right? But a lot of it was I tried to boil down Paul as much as possible to the pure basics when Paul's already a basic character, right? All I did for a long time was just, what is my 10 frame punish? 1-2. What is my 12 frame punish? Back 1-2. What is my crouching punish? While standing 4, while standing 2-3. And I just focused on understanding my character as best as I can, right? And sometimes it would be like one day I'm like, okay, for today, all I'm gonna do if I feel like I'm dealing with a lot of highs, right, is I'm just gonna duck and then while standing 4, right? No crazy punish, no crazy hop kick, no while standing 3-2, no, just duck while standing 4, right? And practicing that, just focusing on that. And it didn't matter if I won or lost or anything, right? I just focused on a goal, right? And then just did this, right? Or let's say my opponent was stand blocking a lot and I wanted to focus on how do I stop them from just stand blocking, right? So I was like, oh, I want to do a lot of, oh, that's really annoying. Anyway, sorry, random thought popped in my head. I want to do corsical forward 3 a lot. I really want to step up my corsical forward 3 usage. So then that was like the only low I would use. Doesn't matter that he has better lows in some situations. Doesn't matter that he has this low, which is really easy to use and nice, right? I was just like, I don't care. This is the only low I'm going to use, right? Jab into this, whatever, right? Because that drilled into my memory of like, hey, this is what you're going to do from now on, right? A lot of times I would whiff punish with Death Fist, right? And I just made it a goal. It's like, okay, even if I can get the Death Fist punish, I'm just going to do corsical forward 1 and try as much as I can. Wait, that's 16 frames? Oh, right, because this doesn't take into account. This is a random tidbit, but whenever you have a move that comes from a stance, like Paul's roll dash, right? And then you see the move start up, this is not really 16 frames. The actual move itself is 16 frames, sure, but the full move from entering the stance to executing the move, right? Was this really 16 frames, right? Was that really 16 frames? Or was this 16 frames? You'll quickly figure out that you have to do the stance first, enter the stance, then you can do the move. So a lot of stance moves, their startup on the frame data bot is not actually what it seems. Really wish they did something about that. Okay, sorry, rambling. Keep it simple, stupid, right? Follow the KISS method. Focus on one goal at a time and then just build up your game plan from there. Goal setting is very important, right? Try to focus on small, concrete goals to level up your game plan, because that's how you get to the real rewards, right? In the long run, people who are even at the intermediate to high level to professional level Tekken, right? They all started from the same place you are, right? It's that they just focused on establishing a small goal, ironing that out as best as they can, and then moving on, right? Whenever you see Tekken players doing well and doing all this crazy stuff, it's not just a combination of like, oh, I'm just gonna be great with Paul or whatever. It's a combination of a lot of like small efforts combining into one overall picture. All right. Oh, this is the last thing I'll rant about because holy shit, it's almost been an hour. Your friend switching characters a lot is kind of frustrating if he does this a lot. I don't know how long he's playing King and then switches to Xiaoyu. But, you know, that's just how it'd be with human beings. You can't control what they do, right? You can try talking to your friend and explaining that, like, hey, I'd really like to, like, learn this matchup. If you could stick with that character, please, right? Maybe for an hour, right? Or 40 minutes, whatever, right? And just play as hard as you can to get that matchup experience. And if he switches, he switches. That's unfortunate. But for learning character matchups, especially something like Xiaoyu, you'd have to just go around discourse just being like, hey, is there anybody who plays Xiaoyu that would like to, I'd like to lab the matchup a lot or grind out the matchup. Please, let's play, right? You just kind of have to be social and find people that you vibe with and just be like, hey, let's grind some Tekken, right? There's also alternate methods of just researching, doing a lot of like Xiaoyu punish guide videos, watching those as much as you can. But at some point, you do need to get that matchup experience. Like, it's unfortunate that your friend switches around a lot if he is, but like, that's just how it'd be for people, right? Like, they're free to do what they want. You can only, hope for the best, right? Talk to your friends, see if they can, just give you 30-40 solid minutes of one character before switching, and then, take notes, do what you can to learn that matchup, and then, it's also good that he switches around a lot so you can get experience fighting these different characters. It can be frustrating, I understand that, like, it feels like you're making progress and then suddenly they switch. That's just gonna happen. You just gotta let go, right? You have to understand that there are two distinct camps in life, right? There are things that you can control and there are things that you cannot control, right? The things you can control, your own behaviors, your own character. The things you cannot control, your own opponents and what they do with their characters. And easiest thing for me in life was quickly figuring out what I can and cannot control. Once I figure out what I cannot control, I just don't worry about it. I just try not to. The more I try and control something that I cannot, right, that I cannot control, the worse my life is going to be. I'll do what I can to like make it work in my favor or just, do what I can, but I'm not going to waste that much time trying to be like, let me try and waste all this energy controlling something that has no business, that is nowhere near under my influence, right? And just focus more on what I can control, right? Anyway, this is just me rambling for an hour, but you know the drill, right? I am by no means a Tekken professional. I'm just someone who likes Tekken a lot, and I've thought about the game a lot, and I want to help others maybe reach the same areas I'm at, if not further beyond, right? If any of this helps, let me know. If you have further questions, go ahead and ask them in the Discord. No guarantee, there is no guarantee that I will respond in time, right? Full heads up. But I will respond when I can. Alright, stay safe.